Hello, everyone. It's been a while. To be very precise, it's been a week.
Oh.
It's also been a week. But, anyways, it's been a week since our last episode, so we are back with a new friend. And this week, our new friend is Els. Els, for those that have not met you, first of all, welcome to the show. Would you like to introduce yourself really quick, maybe? And if not, please still do so.
I would like to.
Okay.
Thank you.
Phew.
Very
That
well.
was going to be awkward.
I'm Els van Vessem. My pronouns are they, them. I am from the Netherlands, so English is not my first language, but I do understand and speak it relatively well. I work as a BI consultant, data engineer kind of person for the Dutch government.
It's kind of the same thing. One is just a fancier name for something that we've been doing for the 20 years before that.
I know, but BI consultant is on my job title thingy. That's how I'm
see.
officially called.
We'll go with
So
it.
what you're saying is the Dutch government has not adopted the fancier names yet?
You are aware that governments can be a bit slow in
That's what I was going
updating
for. But
things.
thank
Yes.
you for pointing that out.
Yeah,
Because,
yeah.
I mean,
But I
this is my
prefer
shot
data
place.
engineer because I do things with data and I do engineer them
Perfect.
somewhat,
Fair.
I think. But
It
that's the
fit.
term I prefer because I think
I mean,
it's more clear.
that checks both of the boxes required to be a data engineer. So check and check.
I know, right?
Crush it.
So that's what I do. And I've been working in data for about 7 years now, I think. Something like that.
Awesome.
Cool. 7 years, data engineer.
Hmm.
That will make the next question interesting. Because especially in the field of data engineering, there's been so much stuff. Not that there's been a ton of fields where nothing has been going on for the past 7 years. But anyways, else, what is your favorite data thingy?
Yeah, I've been thinking about this because this is a hard question, right? And I do think my favorite data thingy is like basic T-SQL.
Oh.
I really like SQL. I really like that with just some simple words, you can basically do everything. I think most of the things we do in data engineering that we can do like really fancy and use all the tools, etc. We can also do the same with SQL. And I just really like that with like I said, very simple things, you can create very complex things. And I like to make it readable. I like to make it understandable. I like to teach people about it. Yeah, SQL. Sorry.
No need to apologize. I appreciate that you've chosen something I understand. Partially. Mostly.
Same.
Yeah.
Hello, here. I'm right here.
And that is an abbreviation that we get. It's not ML ops or BI ops or something else. SQL ops. Is that a thing?
Yeah, but what is ops even?
That's the problem.
I mean, operations.
I'm not sure if it's a thing.
You just add it
It
on
might
the
really
end.
just be something that people try to give as an answer to us because they know we have no idea what they're talking
Yeah.
about. So we have to accept it. And it's just another fancy way of saying my favorite data thing is data without saying it that way.
I think you just add ops on the end and it makes whatever it is cooler. So like if you're Ben Ops, you're definitely cooler than just Ben.
That is
Or flip-flops.
Flip-flops. Yeah. Cooler.
Flip-flops, flops, ops.
Flip-flops ops.
Flops.
I mean,
Yes. Yeah. No, but
Yeah.
DevOps is a thing, and I really like DevOps. Data ops is a thing I like, but that's more of a way of working with your data, way of doing your engineering, and I want to do the engineering with SQL, preferably.
Nice.
I hear you. So when you say you would want to do the engineering with SQL preferably, is that just because you think SQL is the nicer of languages, or have you just been too lazy to learn Python?
Damn.
I'm trying to learn Python, but it's learning new things takes time, and that's all fine. I do think with the classic Microsoft databases that we tend to work with, that at my job tend to work with, I don't necessarily need Python. I think for many data applications that we are going to use in the future, we're going to use APIs way more instead of just getting stuff from one database to another database. I think Python will be way more useful. I do find, even though Python is also like well known for its readability and its natural language capabilities, I do still prefer SQL, and it might just be that if you ask me in 3 years, it might be that I will say Python, but yeah, not right now.
When we have you back on the show
No.
in 3 years, we'll compare the answers.
Yes.
Jess, let me explain to you how this show works. We may have a spin-off of this show, but we cannot have Els back.
Oh. Can we not have re-meeting? Refinding data friends?
Nah. I mean, we may still have to decide how we're going to handle guests that have multiple personalities. If another personality might be able to join us on a future episode, but
Like maybe one.
other
Please
than
don't
that,
put this sentence in the podcast. Please remove this because this is very. You don't call it multiple personalities these days anymore. It's dissociative identity disorder.
while this has nothing to do with our initial question, and this is honestly, please educate me and our viewers on this, because I want to learn more. Because that is one of the things where I'm like, okay, I had no idea.
I am a psychologist. That's my background. I studied psychology. I'm a master of psychology and gender studies. And I talk about mental health a lot. That's one of the things I do besides like talking about data. I talk about at conferences on. I talk about on data at data conferences on mental health, and I have some friends who have DID. And jokes about multiple personalities are, a bit frowned upon in that community because it doesn't work as popular culture assumes that it does. And so jokes like that, I think, are a bit in bad taste, which is why I mentioned.
No, that's
Yeah.
good to know. I think one of the points of this podcast is obviously to meet new people, but it's also to learn new things, right? And so things like that where we can be more inclusive, like we told you in the beginning, we try and use inclusive language, but also we want to be as inclusive as possible. So no, 100% you should interrupt us and help us to get better and learn also.
Yeah.
And
It
especially
might
with
be
regards
that
to that,
someone has multiple alters, but I don't know if all the alters will work in data.
also fair. So again, thank you. Apologies to anyone that may have been offended by my previous statement, which was not my intent. But again, that is one of the areas where I really learn something new every single day, talking to multiple different people. So now I have to think of a very good segue to get back to my original question, to be honest. Yeah, we were talking about Python and all. I would say even with APIs and all that, which I'm using more and more these days, usually it's like 3 lines in PowerShell, and I'm not the bestest or biggest of PowerShell users. So even for that, I'm like, I don't. I see it for tons of use cases for all of these people that are like, yeah, we're going to do all the data science and all the predictive analytics and all that, and we have all these pre-rendered and pre-trained models and all of this. But for traditional, let's face it, ETL stuff, I'm 100% sure Python could get the job done just as well. But given that I've been working with T-SQL for years, decades at this point, it will probably take me forever to understand how, well, having that said, to this day, I'm still Googling a couple of window functions from time to time, how they
Same.
exactly work. So it's not like, but at least I know where to start, and at least I know what I'm looking for, rather than with Python. Like, I'm pretty sure there's a solution. I wouldn't even know what to specifically ask for. So and then you can probably go and take your T-SQL statement and ask ChatGPT to translate it into Python, which may or may not give you a proper result. But
Bad idea.
I could try it, see if it
Yeah.
works. I'll get back to you later.
honestly, sometimes it does quite well, and sometimes it does not at all. So it is, yeah.
You can also now call API endpoints, selected API endpoints from within SQL databases. Azure SQL has a new stored proc as of maybe last year, 2 years ago, where you can reach out and get API data. Whether that's a good idea right from the SQL database or not, I'm not sure, but there's some cool use cases for that.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Oh, that's interesting.
No, it is pretty cool. And then again, it takes a lot of the burden that you sometimes get with all the paging and all that, because it is quite smart to that regard. And at the same time, in many cases, even that is a bit over the top, I'm going to say.
Yeah. But anyway.
So yeah, we will totally allow T-SQL as your favorite feature, and we will also totally allow that in, I'm going to say, 3 years from now.
Very good.
Perfect.
Thank you. I'm glad.
All right. So the second question for the podcast is what your favorite non-data thing is.
You might guess by my background.
Blocks?
Lego is high on the list. I think books are like the highest. I really like books. I have a small library. I think I have about 750 physical
Wow.
books, of which you see a small collection here. And we're not going to talk about how many ebooks I have and how many ebooks I haven't read of those, because that is a big number. I like reading. I like reading fiction, nonfiction, things about data as well. But most of the like data-ish books are not that readable. You need to read them next to a computer and try stuff out. Mostly science fiction. I think that's the genre I read most in. So I'm very involved with the Hugo Awards. Is that a thing that you know about? Okay, so there's this yearly award thing for science fiction and fantasy books, and also movies and short form and podcasts and editors. And it's a very broad thing. Games are also like one of the categories. And there's a nomination process where all the people who are members of like Worldcon of the WSFW, I don't know, man. There's a acronym. People who are members can nominate books, and then the 6 most nominated, which fit the requirements, get on the short list, and then we vote.
Okay.
And it's like a whole fan base thing. There's lots of issues with it as well. There's problems, but read up on the shit that happened in 2023 in China. It's ridiculous, and the white people fucked stuff up. But that I really like reading the books, voting on the books. I'm able to go to Worldcon, like the convention where they will also like award it. So it's not just the reading, but it's also like the community and
that's awesome.
The being like actively involved in that. I think that's one of my favorite things.
Love it. I have a hard time with proper books these days, but I love ebooks. And I read something recently about, I can't remember what the term was, but for someone who just buys ebooks and then never reads them. I was like, oh no, that's me. But yeah.
Is it an ebook hoarder?
It might as well have been. But there was like I can't remember if it was like a Japanese term or something. Have you seen that? I don't remember.
There's a Japanese term for people who buy books and don't read them. The bookcase with all my unread books is over there. No, not behind me, but more in that direction. I'm not showing that one.
So do you read them and move them onto the bookshelf where you have Oh my goodness, that's organized.
Yes. There's a system. There's also there's a system. There's English, Dutch, translated, poetry, nonfiction, feminism, gender, cookbooks. There's a system, which you need because I have 750 books.
Yeah. Legit library.
Yeah. Yes. I also lend people books. If they're not signed, I lend people books.
So you would not lend someone a book that has been signed?
Yes, because I've had issues with not getting stuff back. Because it happens, life happens, and especially with stuff that is signed.
Fair.
I'm allowed to read them here.
Come to the library and read
them. Come over, read my books. That's all fine, but yeah, proper library.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll even bring you coffee if you want.
Who owes you the most fines?
I think that one ex-boyfriend that borrowed a book and never returned it, and then I had to work very hard to get exactly the same edition, so the series was still in the same. Yeah, because you want everything in the same thingy, right? In the same edition, the same color scheme, etc.
It's very good.
Yeah, but secondhand bookshops are lovely for that.
Love it.
Very well. That gets us to our last question. And again, I do not have a great segue from books in because all that talk about books made me so hungry. I mean, I'm not even going to try. Else.
Yeah.
As you may have seen in the previous episodes, you're about to get kidnapped. On your own free will, of course, because that's how kidnapping works these days.
Voluntary kidnapping.
And since we're busy reading the map and driving, and Jess is also busy organizing her unread books on her e-book reader thingy, whatever kind of e-book reader it is, we put our kidnappees in charge of food. But since we're very inclusive and open-minded and everything, we're like, okay, since you're cooking for us, you get to decide what we get to eat. Also, you don't have to cook it. You can also just
Procure
buy
it.
it for us. So we're very low key with that. So with that, what is for lunch?
Yeah, the thing is, lunch. I'm Dutch. With lunch, we eat sandwiches.
Okay, what's for
We don't
dinner?
eat warm food. I'm going to warn you in this because I know how that goes. With you weird Germans and UK people. No,
I like sandwiches.
very good. No, I think the food we'll eat will probably it's a theme, but it's like it goes through phases. But I think at this time it would be Mexican food.
Mm,
I think we would have either very very loaded tortilla chips
nachos.
with like
Yeah.
nachos. Yes, thank you. Yeah, with like lots of toppings. Like we need all the toppings, right? We need like refried beans, and we need a bit of lettuce, avocado, sour cream, cheese, lots of cheese. Yeah, maybe tomatoes, maybe some paprika. Yeah, that I think that's what we'll have. Maybe we add meat or we add like vegetarian meat options, but that's not even necessary.
Perfect. That caters for all of us.
And my brain immediately is thinking of a Friends episode. When Ross is making fajitas. It's the episode where Ross and Charlie are dating, and they're having the double date with Rachel and Joey.
Is that from one of the newer seasons or one of the later seasons? I don't remember that.
I'm gonna say 7 or 8.
I'm gonna have to rewatch.
I haven't seen Friends in like decades.
It's been a while for me. I need to go back to the beginning.
In that case, it is about time. It is about time that all of y'all go back and watch Friends and find that episode. And that's all I'm going to say about this. Speaking of it is about time. It is about time.
Good segue. We got one
Good
of them.
segue.
I mean,
One out of
seriously. It only took me like 16 minutes to get to a proper segue on this show, or in this episode. But there we go. Els, it has been a pleasure having you on the show. Even though, spoiler alert, we may have met before, because actually we did one of these sessions that you were mentioning before at the last sequel bits.
Yes.
I learned something new today, so thank you again for that. Thank you for joining us. And I'm going to say I see both of you next week, because next week is Data Grillin', which also means there is no episode next week. There's an episode in 2 weeks ago. Because everybody's going to be at Data Grillin' or having FOMO from Data Grillin'.
True.
Nobody will have the capacity to watch any of our episodes next week. So there's that.
True.
Okay.
Thank you all. See you in 2 weeks, and bye.
Bye, folks.
Bye.